my darlings, and welcome to Radio Wasteland, your Northern California show about UFOs, things in the night sky, and things that go bump in the dark. This is the continuing news at the top of the hour. Is Elvis dead? Well, I like to think he's somewhere in East Texas defending a retirement home from an ancient evil mummy, but now the king is not the only rock star to hit the mainstream of conspiracy. Currently, some theorists are in arms at the possibility that Taylor Swift is none other than the dark reincarnation of Zena LaVey, daughter of famed Satanist Anton LaVey. The downside is Zena LaVey is alive and well living in Berlin. But I have to admit that the comparison image is quite shocking. Check out radiowasteland.us to see the image. Also, a few other fringe rock and roll conspiracy theorists also think that Kurt Cobain, the lead singer of grunge band Nirvana, might be alive and well and Peruvian, due to a questionable resemblance to Ramiro Seveda on a Peruvian talent show. The claim was discredited by surviving members of the band and Seveda, but the theory persists. It's being reported that Japan has declared Bitcoin to be legal tender. Bitcoin is a type of digital currency or cryptocurrency in which encryption techniques are used to regulate the generation of units in currency and verify the transfer of funds operating independently of a central bank. The idea of bringing cryptocurrency into the mainstream has been in the works for a while, but saw a few setbacks over the years, being accused of being used as currency in black markets and the dark web. According to a survey conducted by Chapman University, 54.3% of Americans now believe that the government is covering up information related to 9/11 attacks. This increase is possibly due to rising potential evidence compiled by groups of independent researchers and increasing lack of trust in the government. The Chapman survey also top fear of 2016 among Americans was the corruption of government officials. And finally, in sports news, during a recent podcast with Cleveland Cavaliers, Kyrie Irving, Richard Jefferson, and Channing Frye asked his teammates if they believe in UFOs and aliens. To which Irving replied that he believed that the Earth was flat, stunning mainstream audiences. He was quoted as saying, "This is not even a conspiracy theory. The Earth is flat."
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Thank you for...
You heard it here first.
Yeah, well, arguably they heard it... from the dawn of time right up through about, 1600?
Well, I mean, the Greeks and Romans knew that it was flat. But
all right, you're listening to Radio Wasteland. I am Chauncey Haworth. I'm here with my co-host, Christopher Robin.
Good evening, everybody.
And Sean is sitting in with us today.
Hello. Yes, I just sort of barged in.
Sean, I'm not entirely sure what your last name is, other than intern at large.
My last name is Kittrick.
Oh, no, I did know that, Sean Kittrick.
Yes.
And so you are here because you've crashed this party because your bucket list is to be on a radio show covering conspiracies and legends.
Correct. I said before we started here that it was a lifelong goal of mine, so I burst in, and they don't seem too perturbed by my presence.
No, we're good with it. We're good with it.
It's all good.
The merrier. To have everybody here.
Exactly.
All right, so I thought I'd cover some of the topics from last week. Last week, co-host Christopher Robin was down and out and sick, and our friend Matt Matlock sat in for him, which was very nice of him. Last week, Chris, we discussed Bigfoot, and I was just wondering, what's your take on Bigfoot? Do you think there's a Bigfoot?
I'm not exactly sure if there is a Bigfoot. I am a fan of the Bigfoot legend.
Yeah.
And I would like to know for sure. I'm just not sure we're ever going to get there with the way things are. I mean, technology has caught up to the point where we really should have some more hard evidence if this is going on.
Right. There's two schools of Bigfoot hunters out there, the people who are trying to get hair samples and photographic evidence like the Patterson-Gimlin footage from 1967.
Non-specific DNA and whatnot.
Right. And then there seems to be a new breed that plan on bringing back a corpse.
Yeah. And I heard some of the hunters saying that they're just not willing to do that. And then you can go either way with that one. It's like, are they not willing to, or are they just making up the fact that they could if they wanted to?
Yeah, as a person, I feel like kind of terrible at the idea of shooting Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But
But they should have cameras, too.
Fan of science, I think it's safe to say that any animal that has gone into our archives of this animal existed, we either have a corpse or a fossil or something. I don't think that there's probably anything in our archives where we don't have some
kind of evidence that everybody agrees upon.
Right, but more than a hair sample.
Right.
We're talking like a corpse or a fossil.
Yeah,
I'd feel squeamish about shooting it, though. That's like shooting Santa Claus.
That would be
You
terrible.
can show your kids and be like, hey, Santa's real, but they're not going to be happy.
Yeah, but an HD camera, shoot it with that.
Dead Santa. So.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's
But you
true.
could capture it, go
But then
Almighty
you get
Joe
in-
Young on it.
You get into the question of faked footage and all of that sort of
Right,
thing.
Yeah,
Right.
which we could probably do in this studio.
Well, exactly. It's like
Oh, yeah.
the ability to capture anything at any time is certainly increased, but at the same time, the ability to fake any
fake
kind
it,
of thing.
yeah.
Right.
YouTube is full of quote unquote legitimate sightings of all kinds of things,
Yeah.
but of course they're fake.
Right.
Or are they?
Or are they?
Right.
You never know.
You
Unfortunately,
can't know because there's a sea of nonsense out
a lot
there.
of the time you got to look somebody straight in the eye and know them and have them tell you that it's real. Because I have a buddy Matt who has told me that he saw a Bigfoot or something running along the side of his car, and
Yeah.
I know him, so I know that he's not making this up. He has no interest in impressing me with his freaky story, because he's really just not that kind of a guy.
Well, yeah, cryptid sightings often proliferate in small towns where that's exactly the situation.
Yeah, but there's
Mothman
no
sightings.
urban Bigfoot.
Not
That's
yet.
exactly right.
Right, not yet. Encroaching
I mean,
on our...
there's like sewer alligators, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know if that's a cryptid, but
Yeah, I don't know that.
they'd probably
qualifies.
just mistake Bigfoot for a homeless dude in the city. They'd just be all, I don't know, he's pretty hairy and he smells good.
Just hangs out by the Starbucks all day.
Right, totally. Yeah, totally. He's learned a word, and it's change. All right. That's terrible. Last week, we also, I had picked this topic, intending you to be there, discuss the moon landing. Because I know that that's one of your favorites.
Yeah. Because there is a lot of information to support both sides.
Right. Well, we covered all the potential, did we even go to the moon, which would be, is it faked? And if so, did we find anything? Were there ancient structures, Nazi breakaway civilizations, or, another one is the moon even real, or is it manufactured? Some people think that it's the Death Star.
Yeah. Another popular theory is we did go to the moon, but weren't able to actually take footage with the cameras that we had at the time, so we had to get something out there.
Oh, right. We didn't even cover that one last time because of the zero gravity and the technology of the camera being able to function in zero gravity. Yeah. And then there's always...
And the radiation and
Right.
the film that they had at the time.
Right. And so we got back and nobody was going to believe us, so we had to call up Stanley.
Yeah, we got to do something here.
Right. Have you followed any of this Stanley Kubrick faking the moon landing possibility?
I'm afraid I don't know very much about the moon landing or the moon landing being faked.
All right. Well, listen to the last show.
Yeah.
All right. We're coming up on break here. You are listening to Radio Wasteland, your Northern California show. I think I need a better catchphrase. I don't know. I kind of stumbled through this one. We talk about anything that other people just don't like to talk about, I guess, as far as scary things and night skies.
Yeah.
next segment, we're going to be discussing the flu and the possibility of a global pandemic. The flu is probably a great topic because we're right now, currently, at the height of flu season. The flu season in the U.S. can begin as early as October, but usually does not get into full swing until December. And the season generally reaches its peak in February, that's us, and ends in March. Scientists are not entirely sure what makes the flu season the flu season. There's a couple of theories about that. One is the togetherness flu theory. And that means that during the winter, we spend more time indoors, and we're all trapped in there. We're breathing each other's air.
More time to breed.
More time to breed. Right. There's also the dark cold theory that, during wintertime, we get less sunlight, less vitamin D. Our immune systems are knocked out a little bit.
Yeah, everything's taking a hit.
Right. Then there's the cold weather virus theory. That it thrives in cold, dry air of winter and suffers in warm, humid air. And then there's one in upper atmosphere theory that, during the pressures, it pushes it up and down, but not a lot to substantiate that. The one with the most substantiation behind it is the cold weather virus theory. A medical researcher took some guinea pigs that apparently respond the same way that humans do to the flu. And he tested the cold weather virus theory by injecting half the guinea pigs with the influenza A, which is the common flu, and put them in a crate next to uninfected guinea pigs. Mm-hmm. And at a temperature of 41 degrees, all 4 of the exposed guinea pigs caught the flu. But when he repeated the experiment at 68 degrees, only 1 of the animals caught the flu. And then when he ran it again at a temperature of 86 degrees, none of the animals got sick, showing that the flu survives in a cold, dry climate, and that it's really moisture in the air that causes it, so that when we cough or we get infected with it, a cold, dry climate will send our spittle, or whatever nice word you want to use, fly, and then a wet environment will just drop it to the ground. And
seems like fungus spores and different bacteria would be the same as that.
Right, right. So, and then now, this is probably a bit controversial. The CDC is now recommending that everyone older than 6 months get a flu shot each year. And it used to just be children and seniors. Do you guys get the flu shot?
I have never had a flu shot.
You haven't?
No. You get the flu shot?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
So, Chris, can I ask you?
Prevented you from getting sick from year to year? And
I really couldn't say. I haven't gotten sick.
When was the last time you had the flu?
Goodness. Probably 8-10 years ago. Something like that.
All right.
There you go. Yeah.
And last week we had Matlock sitting in for Christopher Robin. And Chris, why were you not here last week?
I had the flu.
And how many times have you gotten the flu shot?
Again, never had the flu shot.
Yeah. So I'm personally a little iffy about the flu shot. I get all these people's arguments. You're putting dead flu and formaldehyde and Lord knows what in me and injecting it. And I get that, but my wife has an autoimmune disease, and she can't get the flu shot.
Right.
And so I do get the flu shot every year because of that. But I do have my questions in my head because of, it's a sort of nature's natural way to deal with the common cold might have been a pandemic at one point in our history.
Yeah, which might have wiped us
and
back
we
a
might
lot
have
further.
just processed it out, homogenized it, or whatever the word is to turn it into the sniffles that it is today. But children 6 months to 17 years got the vaccine. This is in the last 12 months. 6 months to 17 years, 49.6% of kids got it. 18 to 49, 31.7. 50 to 64, 48%. And 65 and older, 69%. So it's definitely still there, but I was kind of surprised at the lowness of the number between 18 and 49.
Yeah.
I wish I would have collected some data to tell me if that had gone down, because it seems to be a very common topic. And, I was iffy about it until, Jenny McCarthy started talking about it. And I'm all, whoa, now a real scientist is talking about it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, people like that don't have scientific backgrounds or education are causing people to not get some of these vaccines. And now we're seeing things like smallpox.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, for no good reason.
Right. So would you say that you're pro-vaccine, or do you know?
I'm starting to lean that way. My doctor this year explained to me about the what do they call it, the herd immunization, because people like your wife that can't get it, the rest of us need to because individuals can't.
Right.
And the more of us that don't because of people like Jenny McCarthy, then the more of us are going to get sick.
Right.
And so a lot of that makes sense. And so we'll see by next year.
I'm guessing that given our audience, I bet you that our views, are you pro-vaccine or anti?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, my feeling on it is if I get on a plane to fly, I don't tell the pilot how to do their job, and I don't tell the people who say, hey, you should really get this vaccine or that vaccine, or stand on your head and do a little dance. I'll do it, whatever.
So
and if they've injected me with mind control agents, well, that was very clever of them.
Yeah, that's something that's definitely scary, is the whole amateur diagnosis is what you're basically
and
saying.
I was sick
Exactly.
much longer. Our household was because of being misdiagnosed with flu versus a bacterial infection. They did a flu test on one of us, and it came up, negative. Or it came up positive, and so then I wasn't given antibiotics until I had to go back a few days later.
Because you had a secondary
Then I was
infection.
given the test, and they're like, well, you don't have the flu. You need to take these antibiotics.
Right, because it's common you'll get a secondary infection because of the deal. I'm really kind of in between, but I'm guessing that a lot of our audience is probably anti-flu. I bet you they're listening to this going like, oh, man, these guys are
done
done
with flu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm done with this. Anybody yelling? Anybody out there yelling at your radio? Give us a call at 530-605-4567.
Yell at us on the air.
Yeah, set us straight. So the topic here really is how close to a pandemic are we? And a pandemic would be, a disease or a sickness that spans the world.
Outside of one country.
Right, outside of one country. And, the topic more so when I first started this is I had the idea of doing a doomsday forecast on the show, where instead of reporting the weather once a week, we would report a possible way that, civilization could end.
Oh, yeah.
So the doomsday forecast, maybe put some beeps and blips at the beginning and and now in gamma burst from the middle of the Milky Way news, So, but as I was doing my research for this, I found just a lot more stuff. And so I definitely found that from doctors and the CDC and everything, everybody seems to say that it's highly unlikely that a pandemic will wipe us out. But they also say that we absolutely should be prepared. Yeah. So they're all pushing we need to be prepared. This is important, but it's totally unlikely.
Well, it's highly unlikely a meteor will hit the planet, but it's a certainty that it will happen eventually.
Right. Right. Astronomical numbers are still just numbers.
And there's
so,
the fear factor that they always want to, have a balance of, we want you to be scared, but not too scared.
Right.
Well, really,
have your water and everything ready. But,
Right. To play devil's advocate, there's probably a fear factor as well that if people start getting sick, they want to believe that there is something in place to stop it.
Yeah, I would want to think that.
There's a researcher, Sonia Shah, author of a book, Pandemic Tracking Contagions from Cholera to Ebola and Beyond. And she says humans put themselves at risk by encroaching on wildlife habitats. About 60% of our new pathogens come from the bodies of animals. So we've definitely heard of all this with H1N1, swine flu, and bird flu. My wife actually, here she comes up again. My wife and daughter actually got the swine flu, and they were sick up in bed for 3 weeks.
Wow.
Like the actual, and everybody goes, no, they didn't. Yeah, no, they got their blood tested, and they said, that is the swine flu, And that's when after that is when she first got the vaccination. And then for a couple of years, they thought she had MS, but it ended up being that she was one of the 0.3% of people who have an adverse reaction to vaccinations, part of what, so she had, basically neurological issues with their nerves. Shaw also says the majority of pandemic experts of all kinds felt that the pandemic would sicken 1 billion people and kill 165 million people and cost the global economy about $3 trillion, which would occur sometime in the next 2 generations.
Goodness.
That was the closest that I could come to an expert saying this is going to happen.
In the next maybe 20, 40 years.
Right. This is going to happen. But still, that is not a life-ending pandemic. You know, if they're citing dollar amounts that we're planning on living because people are going to be concerned about their money. Well, we're coming up on break here. We'll be back with Radio Wasteland.
We live in what I call a reactive, fast-paced, frenzied world. We live in what I call a reactive, fast-paced, frenzied world.
Yes, I can do it.
Hello, and welcome back to Radio Wasteland.
Of course, I don't want to.
We are talking about pandemics and the flu and the possibility that a pandemic could take out all life on the planet, or at least civilized life. A lot of people don't take this very seriously. We have an audio clip to play for you right now of the Canadian Parliament talking about how seriously they take a zombie outbreak.
Honourable Member for Winnipeg Centre.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I rise today to salute the Centre for Disease Control in Atlanta and the province of Quebec for putting in place emergency measures to deal with the possibility of an invasion of zombies. Now, I don't need to tell you, Mr. Speaker, that zombies don't recognize borders and that a zombie invasion in the United States could easily turn into a continent-wide pandemic if it's not contained. So on behalf of concerned Canadians everywhere, Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the Minister of Foreign Affairs, is he working with his American counterparts to develop an international zombie strategy so that a zombie invasion does not turn into a zombie apocalypse?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I want to assure this member and all Canadians that I am dedicated to ensuring that this never happens. I want to say categorically to this member and through him to all Canadians that under the leadership of this Prime Minister, Canada will never become a safe haven for zombies, ever.
So for those of you wondering, that was completely real, although I think they were probably having a little bit of fun with that. But this really did happen.
Yeah, there was a lot of laughter in there, but I think
Right.
this is a serious issue with most Canadians.
Right. So, yeah, totally. Canadians are known for, they're not messing around when it comes to the zombie apocalypse.
Hockey sticks.
Not on the border.
Right. Hockey sticks. Yeah.
Perfect implement for slaying zombies, really.
We don't stereotype on this show.
Well,
what's
okay.
up with that? What's up with that? Can't mock the Canadians.
All right. I'm sorry.
They'd be all polite. Oh, please don't bite me.
Eh?
Yeah. I hope we're not syndicated to Canada yet. I love Canada. So the likelihood of a zombie apocalypse, probably pretty unlikely. But I think Joe might have something to say about this. Joe is our producer and has decided that this
Somewhat
topic
of a
is
zombie
something
expert.
near and dear to his heart.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely time to come in here now.
So what do you think, Joe? Do you think a zombie apocalypse is possible?
Don't we think it might already be happening? I mean, didn't that guy just chew that guy's face off?
Bath salts?
He didn't have bath salts in him.
No, he was just...
He was just hungry.
He was just hungry
Yeah.
and thirsty. And what about, have you guys read about the towns in Africa where they have to tie down their young children because they crawl through the town if they don't tie them down and attack people randomly?
Haven't heard about this.
I do know that, mad cow disease, when everybody was concerned about mad cow disease, that cannibalistic cultures, mad cow disease is actually caused by, or that's what they say, feeding cows to other cows. And that in cannibalistic cultures, where people eat the brain and brainstem of their family members, they get basically a laughing disease that's similar to mad cow.
Yeah, so I think we have to qualify what is a zombie. I mean, is it when someone finally goes crazy and is the undead? or is it when someone is uncontrollable? Is it undead? Is it crazy? Is it like when they have rabies?
We got movie comparisons here.
Yeah.
So are we talking Night of the Living Dead, or are we talking 28 Days
And which
Later?
are the scariest to you? 28 Days is pretty. There's a bad one.
I think last week Matlock put it really well. We were talking about Bigfoots out in the wild, and if we heard a Bigfoot yelling, would we be scared? And we both agreed that we would be more scared that it was a human being out there messing with us, because human beings are definitely the scariest of all animals.
Right.
So I would say I would be more scared of the 28 Days Later zombie that is still a human being that's possibly
for that same reason
plotting.
I would be most scared of a situation like the Serpent and the Rainbow.
Oh yeah, remember that one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
where
the
somebody
world
could
has
just,
forgotten the
turn you into a zombie and make you a
zombie.
slave.
Yeah, and that's kind of where that's one of the places it came from, but it also came from there's like German culture that believes the race come back, and that's somehow confused with zombies and all that kind of thing. But what about the Serpent and the Rainbow? How would you like to have been the zombie in Serpent and the Rainbow?
Oh yeah,
no.
Who really that guy's kind of coherent and ends up being able to come back and wake up.
Bury
Yeah.
me, I'm not dead.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's there is some scientific proof behind the possibilities of zombies, though. There is, gosh, I wish I had it in front of me. There is an insect that gets inside other insects and controls them.
Oh.
Spider wasp.
What is it?
Spider wasp does it.
Spider wasp.
Lots of varieties of wasps.
All right, lots of wasps. So, I mean, there is some...
There's also a bacteria that gets in snails. Everyone who's listening, Google this one. There's bacteria that gets in snails, and it makes their antennae turn into a flashing... They bubble up, and they turn like flashing red, white, and blue. And it makes the snail crawl up to the top of a tree, so that birds will eat the snail, and then that parasite will get inside the bird.
Oh, okay.
So that's totally
clever.
controlling
That's
it.
clever. That's very blobbery.
Well, even rabies, in a sense, is controlling the people it gets into. I mean, the idea is that it constricts the throat and makes it so you can't swallow and are afraid of water because of the spasms, so that you spread the disease.
Rabies is a prime example of, we're talking about pandemics and how this could possibly happen. And there's a belief that a pandemic is really not going to happen because as a virus evolves, it either needs to evolve to be more easily transmitted or evolve to become more deadly to its host. And to evolve in both directions at the same time is astronomically unlikely. So they're saying that it's not really hugely likely that something is going to evolve to
Wipe its
take
host
over.
out.
And then on top of that, life in general wants to live. And so if a virus were to come along and wipe out everything that it lives in, well, then that virus would basically be outdoing itself. So it wants the host to live long enough in order to continue itself. And so there is a lot of beliefs that...
That's what I always wondered about zombie books. If the zombies were trying to eat everybody, what was their plan after they ate everybody? Because they can't eat each other.
Yeah, I didn't think they had much of a plan.
They didn't think it through.
Well, in Last Man on Earth, although the book the book actually deals with vampires. And,
right.
And the I Am Legend, Last Man on Earth is the movie with Vincent Price.
Vincent Price, which was
Based off
awesome.
of that. Yeah, and then
where he becomes the monster to the monsters.
Yeah. I Am Legend. Yeah, that was one thing that I was very disappointed about with the I Am Legend movie, was that at the end of the book, he realized that he was the legend, and that's why it's called I Am Legend, that for generations, the new vampires who have inherited the earth are going to tell scary stories to their kids at bedtime about Neville,
who
used to come hunt them in their
sleep.
About
the human who would kill them during the day,
Right.
Yeah.
But,
now, you can watch that on YouTube for free now.
Vincent
Price. The Vincent Price.
I think it's in the public domain.
Yeah,
I think that one's actually in the public domain. So is Night of the Living Dead, for those of you who are interested. So if you get your own copy of Night of the Living Dead, feel free to sell it out of your trunk.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to come and arrest
Wait, I just bought one from you. So I feel cheated.
Yeah. How much you pay?
I don't remember.
All right. So, the idea of a pandemic wiping us out is unlikely, but definitely a possibility, and it's in there. So, Joe, how do you feel about the vaccinations?
Oh, I was trying to avoid answering that.
You don't have to answer it if you don't want.
Well, so I am exactly the opposite of Sean in that if everybody's telling me I'm supposed to do something, I instantly think there's something wrong with it.
I'm going to question it a little
Going to question it. Yeah, even the Oracle of Nebraska, who's the super rich guy? Warren Buffett says that the way he gets wealthy is that when everyone panics, he gets calm. When everyone's calm, he panics.
Right.
Right? So,
this is your...
yeah, the fact that that generally we don't get everything right in science the first time or even the second time, and every year we come up with a new strain of flus that we're going to do, and then we just pump it out into the world without knowing what's going on. I'm nervous about it. Now, I have got the flu shot a couple times. And I didn't turn into a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
But
says you.
Says me, yeah. I think I was a lot brighter and taller and had hair before the flu shot, right. So I'm pretty sure...
A little less sunken in and pale.
Yeah, right.
A little less hungry for human face.
Yeah. So, yeah, just in general, just because everybody says you're supposed to, I have a little bit of skepticism.
Right.
But I don't have anything to back that up.
Right.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of ways to rebel, and that is if I say, Joe, give me $10, do you give me no money or do you give me 20?
Yeah.
We're going to break here. We'll be back with Radio Wasteland. Give us a call at 530-605-4567 or check us online at radiowasteland.us.
Radio.
Welcome back to Radio Wasteland. If you're interested in giving us a call us at 530-605-4567 or check us out online at radiowasteland.us. We've pretty much spent this show talking about the possibilities of a pandemic coming along and wiping us all out. I assume that...
Whether it be flu or zombie.
Flu, zombie, there's a lot of... There's a lot of other potential ones, the Black Death, the bubonic plague killed
meteors,
killed lots of folks, and we actually still get the Black Death every once in a while, the bubonic plague, So I mean,
Genghis Khan was responsible for a lot of that.
Yeah.
Launching bodies with catapults. And stuff.
Right. Have you seen that movie Flesh and Blood, where they fire them over into the water supply to kill all the people? And there's lots of other Ebola. Is one possibility. The Marburg virus, which is like a variation of Ebola. Both Ebola and the Marburg virus, there's some word, zoo something. And a lot of our most deadly viruses have come from animals. And we, as we expand as people and encroach on animal habitats, we come closer and closer to more potential viruses. Mm-hmm. And so they think Ebola and the Marburg virus both came from fruit bats. Mm-hmm. And they think the HIV virus came from people eating monkeys.
Yeah, and we've got things that just live in the dirt, like flesh-eating virus.
Right,
Somebody had Big League Dreams a few years back, slid into a base. And got something very similar to that.
There was flesh-eating virus under the base of Big League Dreams?
Like that mutating and getting out and people just falling apart in the streets.
Huh.
Yeah, that's interesting.
For those of you concerned, I'm sure Big League Dreams cleared that up. I've been there before, so...
Well, the good news is that it's fair to say among many historians that the Black Death, the end of it, probably created the economic conditions that launched the Renaissance. So...
Absolutely.
If all of your neighbors die from a plague, you're guaranteed a good job.
Yeah.
and think about it that way, and it's not so scary at all.
Yeah, well,
as long as you're Catholic.
I never really put this together, but you know how we have names of epochs and stuff like that. We have the Triassic and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. These are all actually named after extinction level events.
Sure.
That came along, and so we've had
Permian Triassic event. That's why they call it
at least 5 extinction level events, and had the dinosaurs not been wiped out, the little woodland creatures would not have turned into
Every
us.
few 100,000 years.
Right. So who knows? Turtles will now inherit the earth.
Yeah.
So next week we're going to discuss ghosts and hauntings.
Ooh.
Ghosts and hauntings. I'm sure that could be multiple shows. Maybe we'll try to specify in a little bit on something because that's really the topic that
I'd love to find some local stories, or locations. That
there are some.
Talk about.
Yeah. I've definitely found.
Personally, I know that Chauncey and I have witnessed a few things in this town.
Yeah, I have.
Know a lot of other people that have as well.
So, have you? I don't know if you'll be here next week. So let's hear. Have you ever?
Well, that's difficult to say because
experience?
I'm crazy.
Right.
I've seen them, of course, and that's not me being facetious at all.
Right.
I literally have seen ghosts.
But they tell you to rob the banks,
But yeah, well, I feel like that's something I have to take with a grain of salt as a result of my craziness.
Questioning your own head. Did I tell myself?
Exactly. So.
All right, so what have you seen?
Okay, well...
Now, seriously, no jokes aside, have you seen something that made you go, oh, dear God?
I was being completely serious before, yes.
Now I'm terrified, but go ahead, I'm listening.
Yeah, so in second grade, I believed in ghosts for about a year, and I don't know whether it was hysteria as a consequence of believing or what, but during the course of that time, I did see them for several times. It was situations where it was just like a flash, they were there, and then they were gone. So, one of them, this guy in, like, an orange military jacket with a bunch of medals. He was running, then he was just gone. And then, another guy, hair all over his body with this weird tail.
So it was
just there
fast flash, and it was there and gone,
yeah,
but it was still a very clear image, though.
Yes, it was very clear. And, I think there are any number of possibilities. I think, hysteria, or maybe, I just misinterpreted something I saw, and then later I'm remembering it.
That's the worst part, asking yourself later, did that really happen?
Yeah, but
I do that over normal things, too. So.
But I do recall my reaction at the time, which was very calm and collected, because, of course, I believed in ghosts at the time. So I was like, oh, that was a ghost.
So you didn't find it threatening?
No, I really didn't. I found it...
You had that acceptance, and so it was all
exactly.
good.
And then later on, I would say... About a year ago, actually, I was bit by something that wasn't there.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was interesting.
Like with people teeth?
Yeah, well, that's what made me think, oh, it's not a bug bite. It felt very clearly like jaws on my hand. Like I felt the pressure.
Did it leave a mark?
No, it didn't.
No.
So, again, take this with a grain of salt because I'm very crazy.
I think it's fair to say that every topic that we cover on here, you would need to take with a grain of salt.
Yeah. I have a cat, similarly, that comes and rubs up against our legs.
Yeah.
That's not really there.
No, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Ghost cat.
Ghost cat. That's what we call it. Ghost cat.
Well, sensations of that sort of thing is an extremely common feature of poltergeist situations.
Yeah, for sure.
Biting, scratching, that kind of thing.
Because I feel that
happened a lot.
Lots of people, as I was starting to do my research on this topic, lots of people seem to kind of feel like, oh, they're harmless, they're not going to hurt you, they're just, and then some of them are just all like, run for the hills.
Poltergeist.
The biting ghost is coming.
Didn't leave a mark.
Let's see, how much time do we have here? About a few minutes. So a friend of mine told me this story. His grandmother told him on her deathbed, right before she died. She said that when she was a girl, every night, her parents would tuck her in and she would be in bed. They would turn out the lights and go out the door. And across from her, sitting on the nightstand, she would see like a little creature sitting on the nightstand. And she would freak out and climb under her blankets. And she would hear this thing drop to the ground and its nails scrape along the ground as it slowly walked over. And then she would feel the end of her bed lower as it sat there all night as she slept.
Jeez.
Huh.
And the grandma told him this on the deathbed. So, it's like, is this some sort of like,
planting the seed,
Eastern European terrifying situation? Exactly. You got to dim the lights in here.
Yeah. Well, that's a great story.
Yeah. I always thought so too. I thought like, oh man, that is like an awesome opening scene for an absolutely terrifying movie. Anybody who knows me knows I am a fan of scary movies,
Yeah, if anybody locally has a story like that, if you could email it to us for next week.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Write to us on the website or tune back in Monday nights at 6 o'clock.
Social media? Do we have social media?
We got the
social?
Facebook. I don't know if we're
Facebook.
particularly social.
I don't think we're social.
We'll respond to
Anti-social media.
We're not going to, instigate the conversation, but we'll respond to you.
I think that's why we're here. We're supposed to.
Right. Okay, well, we really appreciate you tuning in and checking out Radio Wasteland. If you'd like to give us a call next week, take down the number 530-605-4567. That number can also be used for any KCNR show you're listening to. So also check us out on radiowasteland.us and find out more about things that go bump in the night, things in the night sky, and, send me a new tagline. I don't know. I don't have anything good. Fire it away.
I was really in a fix my day of I really needed a cigarette. My own headlight was blazing and I couldn't dim. I didn't think too much about the speed limit. The engine was burning, everything was groovy. I was doing 95 just like a James Dean movie. Singing out loud to the Grateful Dead. My rearview mirror flashes yellow and red.
Oh, hey, Mr. Officer, thank God you pulled me over. Yeah, my throttle was stuck and my seatbelt was stuck, so I couldn't reach the brake pedal. And if you hadn't pulled me over, then I was gonna say you don't smoke, do you?
I suspended my mind to a little conjecture. Would I get the ticket or a speeding lecture? Felt kind of weird when the cars I passed started zooming on by me, going twice as fast. Started saying Hail Mary and Ave Maria. Thought I'd tell a pilot I had the diarrhea, but before I could clear down my lame alibi, cops started serving up my humble pie.
Jeez, I just remembered I gotta get my sick grandma to the hospital. She's having twins. Oh, she's in the trunk. She likes it in there because she can smoke. She's a vet.
Gave the drug test and inspected my car. Then proceeded to chat about his old Jaguar. He wondered if I ever even met his wife. Then he started in telling me the story of his life. And waited for the punchline. When he gave me the ticket and he'd say, please sign on it. Yeah, for sure, without a doubt. I was so frustrated, I just read it out.
Stop repeating yourself. What the hell is wrong with you? Are you holy or something? You just blabber whatever you want to. Fuck me. If I was a psychologist, I'd be like, okay, your hour's up, so write me a check, but I'm not. You sound like a 14-year-old girl with boy problems and a phone. Stop polluting my consciousness with your incessant drivel. Are you sure you don't have a cigarette?
There was a very long silence till he said, please sign. It was a little less friendly than a porcupine. Car went off to the auto wrecker. I got 5 tickets and I still got a lecture. Never ever drive another beat. Bet by God, I always know my